Tiffany, who's going to talk about dealing with imposter syndrome.
Talk about. Do I need to do anything?
Just watch it.
That
Okay.
I'm not like going
Yes.
in and out of it.
Indeed, I can.
Okay.
Do you want me to just yell if you get out of frame?
Sure. All right. So, how you guys doing? Yay, y'all talk. Okay, so my name is Tiffany, as she said. I'm a current backend developer at a company called MusicBed. Basically what that is a music licensing company. So anything from like the commercial space, but like a commercial that needs music, or if you're an artist that has music, we deal with both of those things. Unfortunately, we're not hiring at the moment, but you know, it is a pretty good organization. So if you're interested in finding more about that, just musicbed.com. That's us. Anyhow, so tonight I'm going to be talking about imposter syndrome. Dun, dun, dun. I do my own sound effects. Anyway, so does anybody have an idea, like when you hear the word imposter syndrome, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Does anybody want to give their answer? Just shout it out. I'm here. What's up? Go for it.
I'm not good enough.
Yes. Every day.
Yes.
Fake it until you make it.
Fake it until you make it. I do that every day. Yeah, that's what it says. So anybody else? Fake it till you make it. I'm not good enough. That's fine. That's fair. We'll start with that. So you're all right in conclusion. Look, so what is imposter syndrome? I figured I'd throw a little textbook definition at you for a second, get a little fancy before I just start saying things that don't make any sense. So it's a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So all those things that you guys just said, that's what this is. And the first thing that sticks out to me when I read this was psychological. It's all in your head, right? It all starts here. You start thinking about what you can't do and all these other things, failure, fear, and all those things, and they just start building up. And then it gets crazy. So hopefully, I'm going to give you a couple tips so you can kind of melt that down a little bit. I can't take it away, I'm sorry. But I could hopefully give you ways to manage it better, okay? So let's start there. So who has imposter syndrome? Y'all raise your hands. I didn't mean for you to do that. That's okay. I love your honesty. Yes, everyone raise your hands. So I like this slide because it's like all the smart, successful people that you think have their ish together. Yes. So all those people that you see that are just walking down in the hallways at work and they're like, you think they got it. They ain't got it all together. Okay, some of them might just a little bit. But you know, most people, we struggle in all areas of our life, okay? And one thing I will say is this, is us being in the tech field, especially just getting into the tech space and things like that, there's a lot of fear and doubt there. But one thing that you should always remember is like you made it that far. You took that coding boot camp. You did that class online. You are where you are right now because you put that effort in. That's all you. I didn't do it. Did my own thing over here. But you guys did that yourself. And so that's an accomplishment in itself. So if that's one tip I can give you, is always take note of your accomplishments. Because when things start going down south, you pull that list up of the things that you did and you recall what you've completed throughout the entire week and you're like, hey, I did pretty good. I'm not too bad after all. That sort of thing. So that's a thing. I'll say that a lot. This is a lot of words. I'm not going to read all these. Okay, you can read it if you want to. But the symptoms of imposter syndrome. I went and I put in those three here in the middle, and I was like, yeah, that's me all day, those three. And then you have some around it where they're kind of asking questions of like, hey, do you do this? Are you this? Do you do this? And if you answer yes to any of these things, congratulations, you're in the club. We're having a meeting after this meeting. Just kidding. It's not what's going to happen. But anyways, so these are the things that kind of come to mind. So you're like, hey, I must not fail. And I'll take this time to go into my little example of this happening recently, where I was put on a project at work and I was told to lead this project for Salesforce. And I'm like, you want me to do what? Me? Because I'm just considered a junior developer. So I'm like, okay. And my boss looked at me and he's like, yes, you can do it. You got this. And I'm like, excuse me while I cry. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. But it was very overwhelming, and fear crept in, doubt crept in, and I was just like, what? How am I supposed to handle this? And so as I started this project, I didn't know where to start, to be honest with you. I was like, what do I do now? And so I started meeting with one of the lead developers on the team, and we kind of started talking about things and how to go about finding examples of what stuff that we've already did in our application. So this will be a little bit more seamless than just like starting from absolute scratch. So we had that process, and I felt a little bit better about it. And so as it kept going along, and ask my questions, we'd have weekly meetings and stuff like that to get things answered and to keep the project moving. And the only way that it was able to be completed and come to a place where we're like, okay, this is live, which happened like 3 days ago, by the way, so yay for that. I'm not clicking you off. Sorry. But I was so excited about it because it was like a 2-month-long process, and it was very stressful at times. But the things that kept me going was the team around me and just being able to reach out to those people. And I'll talk a little bit about that in another slide. I don't know when it's going to come up, so let's just watch. So, measuring imposter syndrome. I came across a website, and I'll put it at the end of the slides. I have it up here. But it was a lady called Pauline Clance, and she kind of did her own study back in 1985. I know what you're thinking, like 1985? That was a long time ago, Tiffany. Like, come on, 2000s. But it's accurate, trust me. It's still for you. It's fine. You still relate to it. And basically, she developed this Clance imposter phenomenon scale as a way to kind of measure your scale of imposter syndrome, so to speak. And so she had distinguished 6 dimensions of imposter syndrome, and these are what's listed here on this side. And I'm probably only going to go over the first one and maybe a couple others. But FYI, if you have 2 of these, again, welcome to the club. Join us after this meeting. So the imposter cycle is basically one where you get a project and you have like doubt creeping in. Does this sound familiar? Because I just talked about this. So then you have that doubt creeping in, and then you kind of go one of 2 ways after that. Either you over prepare, or you overwork yourself, or you procrastinate until the last minute. Either way, you finally finish the project, hopefully. And once you finish that project, you have some feeling about it. Either you're happy because, hey, I accomplished this thing and that thing existed, or you're one of those people that was just like, oh, it just happened to work out, so to speak. And so I'm not going to get too in-depth in that, but that's the main gist of it. And then once the next project starts, this whole cycle just starts itself all over again. And I, of course, resonate with that because it happened to me, and it always happens to me. I'm one of those people, like, I get the project, I do the project, I'm like, oh crap, what is this thing? What am I supposed to do over here? Hey, what do you do? This is me asking somebody else, I'm not talking to myself. But I'm like, hey, what do you do with this thing? And then, I start trying to figure stuff out, okay? And then once I get to that point and I'm like, hey, it's completed, I'm normally one that's like, all right, it's done. Next thing. I go to the next thing. And I don't celebrate the success of finishing because I'm like, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Because that's just how my brain works. Psychological. It's all up here. So anyways, there's also a few others that I'll go over in this next slide. So here's me on social media. And I took this snippet because I had an example of it. Characteristics of a superwoman. So if you read this was a post I made about, this past weekend of all the things I had to do. It's a very busy weekend, okay? Edit 3 videos, prepare for this thing, drive a family member to the airport at 4:30 in the morning. That was a struggle, okay? Meet with my mentee, and then all these other things that I'm not gonna read off because there's too many words. But somebody responded with this message: "You got it, Superwoman." And I'm like, Superwoman? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't do all this. I don't got no cape. I'm not any, I don't, what are you talking about? I'm freaking out. And they put an LOL at the end as if to make me laugh. And I'm like, this is not funny. I'm freaking out. I got a lot of things to do. There's only 2 days. How am I supposed to do all these things? So I kind of freaked out. But in the end, like, my mom wrote it, so what am I supposed to do? Okay, Mom, I'll not do that thing. So another brief example is we had International Women's Day. If you went to that, apparently it was really great. I wasn't there. And I wasn't there because I was moving, and then I also had to go out of town the next day, and there's just a lot of things to do. Again, I'm stressed out, freaking out, gotta leave at 4:30 in the morning. Again, that's like the sacred hour for me, I guess, 4:30 in the morning. That's a thing. I don't know, but I don't like it. So we did that, and I decided to tell the group at like 3:39 that I was like, I can't do it, guys. I thought I was Superwoman, but I'm not. And you have to just come to the realization that you can only do so much. You can't do all the things. You want to do all the things, but you can't. So that brings me to my next point of like conquering it, is self-care. Take that time to just say, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to make this. I'm not gonna be able to do this. I could do this much of it, but I can't do all of it. And you gotta kind of compromise with yourself. So take those times to just take that moment to whatever it is that you need to do. For me, I like sitting on the couch, checking out Hulu and Netflix. And some people may do other things. I don't know what you do. Some people like sleep. Sleeping's good, you know, especially if you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning at times. But anyways, so just find something that you do yourself so that you can unwind, so that you can be the best that you can be at whatever job you're going to whenever you go back to work and whatever day it is of the week. I was going to say Monday, but not everybody works Monday through Friday, so that's the thing that exists. Okay, let's move on. I'm almost done, I promise you. So how I conquer imposter syndrome, right? I listed out a couple of those. Self-care, writing down the things that you do, that you've done in the past, that you've succeeded at, or that you did a really good job at, or that you completed. All those things matter. And then also have supportive team members. I hinted at this earlier when I was like, hey, my team was like, you did a really good job, Tiffany, or, you know, they've helped me along the way. I couldn't have done that Salesforce project without my team. And it got to the point where the sales team was like, we really, really, really want this. And I told my boss in a one-on-one, and I was like, hey, I'm not sure how to get data from Salesforce over to our application. I can get data going there, but I can't get data back. I don't know, because Salesforce is a big thing that exists. And I'm not finding anything that's going to connect very well with our project. And he's like, okay, took it into consideration. And the next thing I know, we've got our Europe team working on it too. So it took a lot of load off my shoulders because I'm over here freaking out. And they can, you know, they did what they had to do, worked on it for a few days, got a lot of stuff done, and they made the project better. And I'll say this, I saw their pull request that they made with all the changes, and I was like, wow, this is great. Like, this is so much better. Like, I had things all over the place. Don't get me wrong, it was working and everything, but like they just like cleaned it up and made it look really nice. And instead of me being like, how dare they mess up my project, I was just like, you know what? Y'all did a good job. Thank y'all so much for helping me out. Because we're all a team at the end of the day, okay? And if we all succeed together, it's much better than just me succeeding by myself, because what is that? I don't know what that is. So, and then also have a supportive community, and I put women who code. You see what I did there? All right. So, as she mentioned, we're on Slack. We're also on different meetups and stuff like that. This is not a plug. I'm just saying it's helped me, so maybe it'll help you. I don't know. So, I was like, hey, if you need support in any kind of way, find a community. If it's not this community, find another community that you gel with the people and you get a chance to go and you speak to those individuals, and that you can just say, hey, this is what I have, this is what I've been through this week, and maybe you need help, maybe they can help you out with those things. So have those that sense of community around you. And of course, always, always, always remind yourself of what you did good at. I know I keep throwing this out there and I'm repeating it a lot because we don't do it, and we have to do it. And if we think better thoughts, we can do a little bit better in our working life. We're like, all right, I'm not going to freak out about everything now. I'm not going to say that I can't do it all the time. You can say it sometimes, but you know, say that you can't do it. All you have to do is just be like, hey, here's what I've done. I've got a community around me. I've got supportive team members. FYI, if you don't have supportive team members on your team, you might want to start looking for more supportive team members elsewhere. Just a thing that you might want to think about, that's all. And so if you have that support system, you'll be even better. All right, and I hope this is the last one. Yes, it is. Phew, I made it. Here I am, and this is the Pauline Clance imposter phenomenon that I was talking about. It's the link. There's a test there, so if you want to take the test and see how much imposter syndrome you have, go ahead and do that. It's on a pointed scale. You add up the points. You kind of figure out where you are. You're like, hey, I really have it, or I really have it. One of those things. So you kind of do that. And then you can follow me on the Twitter and the Instagram, and then I'm on the YouTubes, okay? I try to, look, it's a struggle. Okay, y'all saw I had to edit 3 videos. The 2.5 things didn't get done, and it was 2 videos, okay? I'll just say that much. But I'm doing my best there. But I normally talk about my tech journey as well as try to motivate others just getting into the work field, and then also help people with jobs. I know that's a big thing, so I try to give a lot of tips about jobs. Anything that I've been through, I try to help y'all out with. So if you're interested, check me out there. And then there's my website. Just go to it because I just finished it like 2 months ago, and so I just updated it. So that's a thing that existed. I used my time wisely, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, that's all I have, and enjoy whatever's left of the day because it's only one day. I don't know. Just do stuff. All right.